step beyond the stories of kings and knights, and let's journey into the heart of the medieval world, where time itself moved to a different rhythm. Imagine a place set apart, beyond the fields and faint village bells, enclosed by a tall moss-grown stone wall. This is the monastery here. Life isn't measured in harvests or market days, but in the sacred hours of prayer, matins, lauds, prime, terce, sexty, nun, vespers, and collin. The monks called this the Opus Dei, the work of God, and they dedicated their entire lives to it. When the first pale light touches the horizon, a single bell rings. Its note carries across the dew-laden fields, startling crows from the trees. Inside the cloister, the brothers rise in silence. Their bare feet brush against cold stone as they move like shadows through the dim chapel. Their voices, low and resonant, rise as one, filling the vaulted space with ancient Latin chants. They weren't seeking beauty, but order, a divine order they believed held the world together. Even as kings waged war and famine scoured the land, to enter a medieval monastery was to step out of the noisy, chaotic world. A monk renounced wealth, family, and personal desire. His world was bounded by stone walls, yet within them, a strange kind of freedom bloomed. The monastery was a self-sufficient kingdom. At its center, the church, its bell, the constant pulse of the day. Around it, the dormitory, dining hall, infirmary, guest house, bakehouse, and stables. Every space had a purpose, and every purpose was a form of prayer. The abbot was both father and lord. Below him, a hierarchy of roles, not ambitions, kept this machine of souls running smoothly. The cellarer managed the stores, the infirmarian cared for the sick, and others served as scribes, cooks, and gardeners. Each monk owned nothing. His robe was coarse wool, his sandals thin. He ate little, slept less, and spoke rarely, for silence was considered a form of truth. Yet in this austerity, there was a quiet joy, the morning sun spilling gold on the stone arches, the rise and fall of the chant, a shared hunger offered to God. These were the small illuminations that made monastic life radiant. The monk's day was divided with absolute precision. At midnight, matins, the chapel, cold and dark, lit only by candles like distant stars, then back to sleep until lauds at sunrise. After a simple, silent breakfast of bread and weak ale, the day's labor began. Some went to the gardens to tend herbs, others to the fields to mend fences, and in the heart of the monastery, in a cool, quiet room called the scriptorium, the scribes began their sacred work. Tall windows filtered the light as they bent over tilted desks, their goose quills scratching across parchment. Here, knowledge was preserved. They copied the scriptures, the works of the church fathers, and ancient texts of philosophy and medicine. Every letter was a prayer. Some pages were illuminated with gold leaf and vibrant pigments, turning sacred words into breathtaking art. These scribes knew they were shaping something immortal. The books they copied would outlast them by centuries, preserving voices that might otherwise have been lost to the darkness. Just beyond the cloister, the herb garden was a fragrant living pharmacy. The monks were skilled healers, growing sage, thyme, rue, and comfrey. They believed health was a balance of the body's humors, and to heal was to restore harmony. In the infirmary, the sick were tended with psalms and poultices. Death, when it came, was met not with fear, but as a peaceful completion. Though cloistered, the monastery wasn't entirely cut off. It served as a refuge for travelers, a source of counsel for villagers, and a place of healing for the sick, its silence speaking through acts of charity. But let's leave the quiet contemplation of the monastery and step into its complete opposite, the medieval marketplace. If the monastery was the world in stillness, the market was the world in chaotic, vibrant motion. The air quivers with noise, the clang of iron on cobbles, the hum of bargaining, the toll of the church bell marking the town's living pulse. To walk here is to walk through the very bloodstream of the Middle Ages, where peasants, merchants, and craftsmen all came together. At dawn, carts creak in from the countryside, laden with onions, grain, and wool. The smells of hay, sweat, and wood smoke mix with the sharp tang of a tanner's hides and the scent of freshly baked bread, and the voices shouting, laughing, arguing. A fishmonger hawks his salted herring, a potter clinks his wares, a fiddler scrapes out a tune. Every transaction is a small story of need and trust. Prices are fiercely debated, but this is the alchemy of the market, turning want into exchange. Among the crowd are the merchants, the wanderers between worlds. Their boots are dusty and their minds are full of stories from Flanders, Venice, or even farther afield. They speak of distant ports, spice-scented air, and desert caravans. They belong to guilds, sworn brotherhoods of craft and commerce that guard their secrets, from how to dye cloth the richest blue to how to forge the strongest steel. For a guildsman, reputation was everything. Honor, not coin, was the true currency. But travel was a gamble. The roads were rough and plagued by bandits. Merchants often journeyed in convoys for safety, camping together at night, where fear turned into fellowship, and fellowship into trade. Despite the dangers, they went, because trade was the thread binding kingdoms together. Wool from England, cloth from Flanders, spices from the East all flowed from hand to hand, connecting this bustling market to the far corners of the known world. The monastery preserved the soul of the age, but it was the market that powered its body, driving the medieval world forward, one cart, one coin, one conversation at a time. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey back in time. If you enjoyed exploring the daily lives of monks and merchants, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more deep dives into history. Let me know in the comments which part of medieval life you find most fascinating. See you next time.